It's a proud privilege and an honor to host the open forum for today's webinar, which is a stellar webinar, I would say, with all the star speakers and the actors. And that too in the memory of a very great surgeon, a great teacher, a great gentleman, and overall a great soul, Professor Vijay Appaswamy. I've never had the privilege to meet him or work with him, but what I've seen today has been exemplary in the way what he has left behind and what we continue as the Asian Collaboration for Trauma, of which now I'm one of the parts. I see a huge, huge legacy being created right away because of his efforts. I think a memorial webinar is more towards remembering the legacies and also discussing the legacies of trauma surgeons in the Asia or Asia Pacific region. And beyond the question and answers, I would like to direct the open forum towards the thoughts of all the speakers and reactors. In fact, all four of the speakers and all four of the reactors, who themselves are stalwarts. They are leaders. They are role models, I would say, in their own right in trauma care in the Asia Pacific region, as to what their thoughts are. What a single line, because there are many, many residents here, many resident doctors, many trainees of trauma, who are very passionate about trauma, and that's why they are here. One thing as a legacy or one liner or one paragraph you would like to tell all these residents to keep up, how to keep up that passion, because as we learned from Dr. Ian, many of them who are trained as fellows, many of them who undergo the rigorous training of a fellowship of a trauma surgeon, many a times would leave trauma surgery for other sort of job-related issues. So I think some spark for igniting the fire in the young minds or young residents, I would like all of you to comment upon in a minute or so. And I begin with the first speaker.
Yes, during mass casualties, I think the important thing is really, I like the comments about how trauma surgeons would have done well in terms of this disaster. I'm very happy to be part of the COVID response in the Philippines, but as an advisor. So as an advisor, I deal with infectious disease people, epidemiologists, who think so differently from the way I think. And he is right. He is actually so right about how we should have a greater good for the greater number. And whether it's a mass casualty incident or whether it's a pandemic like COVID-19, I think the way we think needs to actually be imbibed by many of our fellow, to act fast, to act swiftly, and to make a decision based on, let's say, prioritization, very clear in our heads what are our priorities, what saves lives. We make intelligent guesses, and we don't wait so much for evidence and wait for so much, dilly-dallying and debates and discussion on what to do. We eventually do decide eventually and stop the bleeding or take out that bullet or whatever. So I think that kind of mentality we need to teach to a lot of young doctors, young physicians. And that's where our wisdom and our gems really will contribute to getting our next generation of doctors really perform better in times of crisis like this pandemic. Greater good for the greater number.
Dr. Teddy Herbosa. I remember meeting Dr. Teddy Herbosa 2003 March. It's been over 18 and a half years. A true mentor, a teacher. I was a student in the Hope course. I hope you remember. And
yes, of course.
He has left a great legacy of mass casualty management in India. We are running the Hope course with the ICRC now. Dr. Ted, your words for the younger generation.
Yes, thank you, Amit. I remember, of course, I recall you. What do you mean I don't recall you? I recall very good students and people who are really interested in the field of trauma. So it's really nice that we have this memorial for Vijay. We should emulate and follow our leaders. That's how we learn in trauma. We talk about teamwork. My good friend Ismail Saibun talked about teamwork, but we also need to talk about leadership. We need to take up roles. I've been pushed to leadership roles just because I was a trauma surgeon. I became undersecretary of health. I became executive vice president of the university. And now I'm helping my country fight COVID-19. So I think all of those is because I'm a trauma surgeon, and in my DNA is really to save lives and to fight for, what everything you can do. So I think that's the type of culture we need to actually emulate in the ASEAN, in the Asian collaboration for trauma, this collaboration to actually save lives. And it's true, it's a fraternity, it's a brotherhood, because we all feel the same way, the way Vijayan actually taught, practiced surgery, and, promoted internationally. He didn't stay in this Singapore. He went around and promoted his craft, promoted his teaching, exchanged his thoughts. And I think that's the value of tonight's presentations. The value of tonight's presentation is all of us were touched by Vijayan in the short stay here. But I think we can continue. We can continue that legacy like everyone else that has, passed on to the field of trauma care.
Absolutely right, Dr. Fred. I think coordination, collaboration, you mentioned as two of the C's of the four C's is very, very important. I think collaboration has worked, won many friends world over, and I think Dr. Vijayan also, believes in that, and I think we should continue. Dr. Ismail had been a close associate with Dr. Vijayan. Dr. Ismail, your words for the younger generation and how they should keep up their passion for trauma.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Amit. I think I think the important thing for the younger people to maintain is to continue to have this lifelong learning, and to learn and to basically to get around and know people. I think that's how we can propagate this passion into trauma. And well, because if I can share something with all of you, I still remember how we started off with this ACT many years ago. It all started when Singapore used to have this Singapore trauma at that time. I think this is way before 2010, which I used to go there. And then after that, I started to bring trauma into Malaysia. Then we have this Malaysia-Singapore trauma. We call it MAS. I think if Mingtek still remember that. So,
yes.
So and then after that, when Ted Herbosa joined me in UKM in 2009, so we bring on this thing and basically expand it to the Philippines. So initially we want to call it Philippine, Malaysia, Singapore, PMS, but it doesn't sound right.
That's right.
Post-menstrual syndrome. So, and then after that, Chiu came up with, I'm not sure whether it's Chiu or it's Vijayan came up with this this ASEAN collaboration with
ASEAN.
Yeah, so that's when it all started. And I think that fight has been actually being carried on by the younger generation with the guide of the elderly group, and I think it should carry on. I think this platform is an excellent platform for us to share, for us to basically nurture this passion of trauma.
Thank you, Dr. Ismail. Thank you so much. I would skip on Dr. Chuman because he will be the one who will be giving the closing remarks for the webinar and all his thoughts about today's webinar also. So I'll go on to the reactors if they are there. I'm not very sure. Can the moderators please help me out if Dr. John is there?
Yes. Dr. Crochet wants to talk. Dr. Crochet?
Oh, yes.
Raise his hand.
If I could just reiterate the gratitude for the privilege of being involved, I'd just gently add 2 further C's to the consideration and highlight the excellence of the speeches. Those 2 C's are climate control. And I'm very conscious of the significant impact that a range of consequences of climate are going to have on the Oceania region. Those that haven't, I commend the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Control report that has just been released. It's a very extensive read. It's 4,000 pages. But if you read nothing but this executive summary and look at the interactive statistics, that is a riveting piece of work that heightens the need to move with a lot of efficiency in the effective collaboration. And as I said, it's a lens that a lot of what we do in the next 5 years will need to be reviewed against or seen through. So I'll just close again. I can't express enough my gratitude for the inclusion tonight. It has been a wonderful privilege. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Crozier. I think you're very right. I think Dr. Ted would have to increase the number of seats to 6 in his presentation. Thank you so much.
He answered, Doctor, the second question. Is there any circumstance that we can give some advice as an input to the policy makers of each government for updating their better way in serving the trauma patients now and then during the pandemic era? Who wants to answer this question? How can we help the government for their policy making?
I think Dr. Ted Harboza would be the perfect
Okay.
person to answer this.
Yeah, I was actually referred that we appointed a chief implementer of the National Action Plan against COVID-19. And one day I get a call from this former general who's now a secretary to the presidential advisor for the peace process. And he talks to me about my solutions to COVID-19. And I was actually posting it on social media. I was actually referred to him by another surgeon who he was trying to get as his advisor. So I didn't know him. I started to talk to him. We talked for about an hour. I didn't know it was a job interview. That the next few minutes, his head executive assistant, a lieutenant colonel, calls me and tells me to report to the National Incident Command Center the following day. And that's how I ended up becoming the special advisor to the National Task Force against COVID-19. And I look back and our hospital, the Philippine General Hospital that Dr. Crozier visited, became a COVID hospital. We were one of the first hospitals to say we want to be a COVID hospital. And the director, who's a neurosurgeon, started to appoint our trauma surgeon, that one of the trauma surgeons I trained, Dr. Boko Campo, to become head of the coordination, the ER coordination of converting the whole hospital into a COVID hospital. And he tapped the other surgeons to actually act and do logistics, do all the other aspects of running the whole command. And I was so pleased because the elective surgeries were cut, but the surgeons continued to perform with their abilities in running a team, an emergency team. And I think the training in trauma helped a lot because all surgeons in the Philippine General Hospital get trained in trauma surgery. And that to me is very important. Even in our IATF, we have what is called an Interagency Task Force for Emerging Infectious Disease, which is all cabinet level secretaries. And they tap a technical advisory group of experts. Of course, who they tap? The infectious disease people, the epidemiologists, the vaccinologists, but no trauma surgeon. So I sometimes get invited to that meeting just because I would oppose the ideas of the infectious disease people. I said, no, operations is different. That's not going to work. Your idea is good, but it's not really implementable. And I remember having many arguments with them. And of course, the general sided with me because of my experience and because of the incident command. So I think Dr. Crozier is right. We need to step up. We need to volunteer. We cannot just stay in the background and watch our colleagues crumble and make mistakes in this pandemic. This is a fight we all have to be in solidarity with. And we should contribute. We should actually contribute. We have raw talents out of our knowledge of the trauma system and how a trauma system runs, because that's how a health system runs. That's public health. Public health is taking care of the injured.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Ted. Dr. Sundar, any other question which has come up on the panel Q&A, which might be answered by the panelists?
I haven't seen any questions specifically, but I have seen a couple of tributes, which I think we are all happy to see. There's one from Dr. Kamal Jayasuriya, who was a fellow with us many years ago. He's currently one of the most prominent trauma surgeons in Sri Lanka, plus many others, distinguished guests.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Sundar. Dr. Narayan and Dr. Rizwan, if Dr. Russell is not there, I would like you also to just make a single line, single para comments for our younger surgeons, younger trauma surgeons.
Thanks, Amit, and Thank you to everybody that's been here. It's been such a joy seeing you and noticing that there are 350 people on this webinar is such an impressive thing. Imagining the connection that we've had today for 2 or 3 hours, reaching out right across the region together, talking about a great person and celebrating his influence on so many of us. To me, it just shows what a difference a single person can make. And we can all be that person to some degree and have that influence on another 350 people. And, you know, in trauma, we do that. And as Ted said, you know, we get forced into positions of leadership simply in part because of the work that we do and the work we've chosen to do. So let's be that force. Let's influence another generation ourselves, and not because we want to be lauded like VJ's being lauded today. None of us, I think, will ever meet his high standards and fill his big shoes, but because we all can have a positive influence on the world, and therefore we should.
Great, Dr. Russell. Thank you so much for this kind words. Dr. Moran.
Yes, look back about more than 10 years ago when we started to have the ACT, since we have a meeting in Buffalo. I remember I met Ted.
Yes.
I met Vijayan, I met the Mingtuk, Rasman also here. So at that time, we don't know what kind of activities they would like to have. We just have to meet each other every 2 years. But now, for these 2 years past, we found that we come to the correct directions. We have a meeting to share the knowledge. It's my privilege to be here. 350 persons in this room, and we can spread out the knowledge among you with the panelists and experts from every corner of the world. The one advantage that we have for COVID is it makes the Zoom favorite and make us come together very easy, not just travel to go to each other every year. We can meet every day or every week. I just would like to say thank you. And I would like to say I would happy to join this meeting and would like to encourage young surgeons and every people in this room to listen to us and come to join us. You can meet the expert in all over the corner of the world very easy by click just one button, register, just come here. Thank you very much for inviting me, Professor Gupta, Mingtuk, and also Rowley. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very ambitious about it. It started with just the ASEAN countries, but later on we actually expanded to more countries and the rest of Asia. So now includes countries like Hong Kong, China, Taiwan, Korea, and many other Asian countries. So, yeah, I think our dream was for Asia to have its own trauma group, just what other continents have. So, I mean, that was our dream.
Yeah, Dr. Mingtuk, I think that dream is getting realized now. Already 8 webinars, top quality webinars, and this 8th one in memoriam of Professor Vijay Swami. I think it's been a great pleasure for me to host the open forum. And I would thank once again all the speakers, all the reactors, my fellow colleagues, the scientific chair, Dr. Mingtuk, and the chairman of the ACT, Dr. Orlando de la Cruz, for giving me the opportunity to be a part of the education committee of the ACT. I hope we can all bring some quality training, some quality teaching to the students and to the trauma trainees in the Asia Pacific region. I would now formally close the open forum now for the administrators to move on. Thank you.